Hey guys, this is a video response to a video I made yesterday, which was an easy formula to determine how much testosterone and other steroids to take. And I really recommend everybody watch that video because I feel like I said some things. I laid out like a formula that I haven't seen anywhere else, and I think it is useful for people who want to go into the TRT plus like I am. And I won't explain everything I say in that video, but it lays out an easy way to measure how much, not just testosterone to take, but as well then the ratio with other steroids, other compounds to take. Okay, and a response I got to that because in the video I mentioned that 250 milligrams is a TRT dose. Now I know, and I got a response saying, no, it's not. 250 is not. That's a cycle. 100 to 125 milligrams is a TRT dose. And I'm just going to start, like a lot of times when I start like in a debate, I'll start with some type of agreement, which is I know that in TRT clinics, doctors, they'll be more conservative on the levels of testosterone they administer, okay? Prescribe. And what this comes down to is like, the testosterone reference range that they want to put their clients into. And there's kind of like they're just following like what like a standardization of what to give clients. And I think rarely they will go over 200, but like if you look online, 200 is like what they say the upper limit of TRT is. But I'm gonna say that 250 can be a TRT, although it might not be ideal for everybody. That might be a little bit high for maybe just someone who is straight on TRT. But the reason why I said it in the first place is because I follow lots of like bodybuilding coaches, doctors, Dr. Todd Lee, you can check him out. Paul Burknett, he's not a doctor, but he's a bodybuilder and coach. Kurt Havens, PhD and specialist in anabolics. Whenever they talk about going down to a TRT dose, because like if after a blast they come down to a cruise, things like that, TRT cruise, they say 250 is kind of the standard TRT cruise. Now that's for bodybuilders. That might not be necessarily for everybody. Like an old guy who's 65 years old who just has testosterone in the reference range free for a total testosterone. Like say if it's under 300, they might give like 100 to 150 a week. Okay, I get that, but I think there's something wrong with that, and I'll just start by also saying that a lot of times these doctors that give it every 2 weeks or every, you know what I mean, and that's just ridiculous because you need to be giving testosterone every other day or every at least 3 days, 2-3 times a week, at least, to maintain a solid curve, right? So there's no fluctuations. But doctors don't do that as well. That's a side note for another video. Okay, so I think that this guy raises a really good question, and it forced me to kind of think about it. And I love that. I love when somebody disagrees with me because it forced me to think. And so he's saying that Greg Doucette and Derek from Plates and Dates says they're on 125. So that's 125 is the only TRT dose. Well, I'll start by saying that my I don't know what their motivation is by saying that. They might be it just could be true. But a lot of times I think these guys, because they know they have quite the following, they're not going to say 250 as a TRT dose because then they're just going to get a bunch of people blindly following that. So that even their kind of thing might be a bit conservative, okay? And well, Greg Doucette, he got busted back in the day for importing and selling anabolic steroids. So he probably doesn't want to advertise the fact that he might do more than a TRT dose anyway. But that's a side note again. Now, I mentioned a common determination of TRT dose is 1 milligram per pound of a person. Now, that's not necessarily what a clinic is going to determine what dosage they give. I never said that, okay? But I believe that is still valid. And so, for example, if you're 200 pounds, you're going to do 200 milligrams a week. Now, how much total testosterone, if you did 200 milligrams a week and you're 200 pounds, would you have? I guarantee it's still going to be no more than 1,200. Was it the nanograms per deciliter? If you do 200 milligrams a week and you're 200 pounds, I was going to say you're probably not going to be over the reference range of 1,200. But even if you are over 1,200, some people naturally, for example, young guys and people, it could be dependent on genetics, it could be dependent on age or your diet, have super high testosterone levels, way above the reference range. Okay, so that raises the question: what is a physiological dose or a physiological level of testosterone? What is super physiological levels? Okay, which is very important to this point that I'm making. So I believe that there are clinics that actually do prescribe 250 milligrams of test. Now, a lot of these clinics also, I was even getting steroids through Anavar. That's where I got my Anavar through, and human growth hormone. They prescribe other hormones as well in the TRT plus and HRT, and I believe a lot of these do prescribe 250 milligrams as well for kind of going like to the upper limit as far as as far as probably what they're allowed to do, because legally they might not be allowed to prescribe 500 milligrams a week, right? I don't think so. Okay. So here's the thing. If you took 250 milligrams per deciliter and you're a pretty big guy and an athlete and things, what do you think on that testosterone reference range are you going to be at? Now, normal levels are anywhere from 300 to 1,200. Might bring you up to 1,400, say. Maybe even 1,500 nanograms per deciliter. Guess what? That's still within normal physiological range. It might not have been in the range that you would have been at before, like naturally, but it's still a range. Still within range. Now, if you did to say 300, 350, now I think you're going to be going a bit super physiological levels. Okay? That's the important thing. So 250, I think, is the upper limit. Now, the other thing is some people might respond differently and to testosterone based on genetics and things. Like 250 might spike them over super physiological levels. For some people, it might do that. Okay? So I think I'm going to then agree with you again that 250 is the start of the cycle dose of testosterone. Like that's around the level where you might start a cycle, especially if you add on other compounds. But I don't think 250 by itself is necessarily a cycle. Well, it is, but it doesn't mean it's not necessarily still TRT. And what is the difference really between taking TRT and doing a cycle? Like some people might cycle a TRT level as well. Like what is a cycle? Is going on something, going off it, or pushing it for a certain period of time and then coming down. Some people might go from 150 to 250 and then back to 150. Doesn't mean that both are still not TRT. So I'm really thank him for the question, because it made me think and made me look into it more. And like it might be based. I think what he's saying, a lot of it is just based on what is the standardization of some of these clinics in Europe and in the United States, or a doctor. Like a doctor might have a standardized level they prescribe testosterone, and it's probably not going to be 250, okay, for your average person. So that's where I'm perceiving and gathering that he's doing it, and as well he's listening to people like Greg Doucette and More Plates, More Dates, and I don't see any reason why 150 still can't be great. I don't see making much gains on that. 250, I really don't see you making substantial gains. You still will, but it's not going to be like groundbreaking at all. And I'll go back to what I was saying before. bodybuilders, when they say they come down to it, whenever I hear it, I've heard it many times, this isn't me just fucking spitting shit out of thin air, like off, like talking shit, like I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just reflecting what I've heard other people talk about. And when they say, I've heard many times, bodybuilders, I'm going down to a TRT dose, it's 250 milligrams a week. All right? And I wish I could provide evidence, but I have to go through many videos and try to find that exact example when they did that, when they said that, and that would take hours to do. So if I find that again, I'll repost that in the future. But again, it's credible people. It's not just some YouTuber like me just talking who's making claims, right? And I want to say the other fact that, you know, I'm just trying to figure things out as well, like a lot of people are. And I've never taken TRT. Obviously, I'm taking underground lab shit, so I haven't gone through like the actual process of somebody like a TRT clinic and doing it in that means. So but I can still make assumptions and imagine what they would prescribe, and I guarantee it's something around 150, most 200, usually, right? So in that sense, he's right, where it's like, oh, it's not TRT dose because doctors don't prescribe that. Yeah, but if you took 250 milligrams and you're at 1,400 nanograms per deciliter, well, guess what? 400 milligrams per deciliter is still within physiological range. So I'll leave it there, guys. What are your thoughts about that? And I'd love to hear people disagree with me or agree with me or add something else to this conversation. Okay, in the comments section below, including if he watches this guy Tor Harold Fodog 9444. Thank you for your comments. Again, I love everybody commenting. Comments are what I make this channel for, and the discussion and putting things out there. I love people's responses, good, bad, doesn't matter. It's all great. It's all great to me. Okay. Thank you for watching, guys. Peace.